Hi, my name is Lisa Michio, and this is my daughter Cecilia Michio. And right now we are living in my van right now. Because about a few months ago, on October 22nd, we were evicted from our apartment. It all started with the new assistant manager there lied and said that I had cussed the owner's daughter out. Never happened. I let the manager know, Kim, who's a member of the church, same church as mine, the Way World Outreach Church, and she did nothing to prevent it or help fix the situation. So based on that lie, I was evicted. I know it's not true. Even that same day, there was a member from our church there, Arnold, and he was giving my father a phone. And, he knew I didn't say nothing because he was there when they knocked on the door, and he was there after they left. But it happened, and we're having to deal with it right now. But about 2 weeks prior to me having to move, I went to my church, and I talked to Pastor Ernie, and I told him my situation. I told him at the time I had enough money saved to move into a place. If he could, when I had to leave the apartment, if he could help me and my daughter, because my dad is in a nursing home right now in Grand Terrace, so he wasn't with us. But help me and my daughter in a hotel for about a week, so I can really focus on finding a place and not having to spend that money to move in. He told me over the phone that right now the church is in a financial hardship, and they wouldn't be willing to help me. So I then asked if they can refer me somewhere, somehow, if they knew anybody who was renting that can help me get in. There came up an apartment across the street from the church. I put the application in. Pastor Ernie did put a good word in. He said he put a good word in for me, and I kept calling them, and they kept just like blowing me off, so I just let it go. And the next week we went to service again on Wednesday night, me and my daughter. My dad didn't go, and I talked to Pastor Roberts. And I told him my situation, and he says, "Oh, you got enough time, For us, it's a long time. I know for you, it's a short time. But don't worry, come in on Friday and talk to Connie and Melissa." Well, I came in on Friday, and they weren't there. And I gotta switch my arm. I talked to Pastor Ernie, and I asked him if he can refer us out. I guess at the time I know he's very busy. He said he was busy trying to help another family find a place, because they were out the door. I was basically in the same situation. I guess he had to focus on them first, which was fine, I didn't hear anything, nothing at all. I did ask, when we saw him at service, but I felt like I was bugging them. I've been a member for 3 years. I started in January of 2012, a month before my son was murdered. My son was murdered. He was 18 on February 28th, 2012 at 3 o'clock. And the church did help me out then to cremate my son. Since then, I've been going to church. My dad's been going with me. He's never been into a church for 40 years, 50 years, but he started going there because of what happened with my son. So, let me get back on point. So I asked the church, and obviously they weren't getting a hold of me, letting me know about any referrals. I kept bugging. I didn't keep bugging, but I kept, calling to find out, is there anything available? Is there anything going on? And I just got thrown to the side. It felt like nobody could help me. They just kept referred me here and there, and I called it dead ends everywhere I called. So at that time it was time to move. I had to use the money I had saved up for hotels for me and my daughter. I couldn't. It's so cold out there to be living in a car. So, it's a struggle. All my money's depleted now, and I have to wait till first of the month for me and my dad to get our money. So hopefully we can find a place, but I haven't had any luck. He's just disabled and he's elderly. He walks with a cane, so I got to find one that's downstairs that meets his needs just as well as ours. It's hard. I mean, I found one and it was full of cockroaches, and I couldn't do that. It's been a difficult road this time around. And so let me get back on track again. We stayed in and out of hotels. It's expensive, like $60 a week, sometimes even $70. And I kept calling the church. And just recently again, a few weeks ago, I had called the main church in the downtown mission, and I left messages. Pastor Roberts called me 2 weeks ago Wednesday, and I told him what happened. Again, let me go back first. Right before Easter, right before Thanksgiving, we were at service, me, my dad, and my daughter. And when you walk into the church now, when you walk into the church, to the left they had the pews against the wall, they got rid of them. To the right, they only had one pew at the far right side. So my dad's elderly and disabled, and he's a big guy, so he had to sit down in the pews. Well, like about 20 minutes into service, this other gentleman comes in with another lady, walking with the walker. And she's a very heavy-set lady, too, who needed to sit down. But they wanted, I guess, all of us to move. There was me, my dad, and then a lady at the end, very skinny little lady at the end, who claimed she was disabled and handicapped, but I guess they know that she's not. Pastor Ernie, me and my daughter went up to the front of the church, and... Are you okay? We went up to the front of the church, singing and praising, and as I was walking back, I saw Pastor Ernie talking to my dad. And when I got there, I told him what happened. He said, Pastor Ernie told him that, this is for elderly and disabled. And he looked at him, he says, yeah, okay, I guess from what my dad felt like Pastor Ernie was asking him to move. I guess to make room for the other lady and the gentleman. The gentleman now who was talking to Pastor Ernie is not just a member, but he does volunteer, obviously a lot more than we do. I mean, we don't, but he volunteers there and does work and stuff for them. So I felt like they were just trying to kick us out, but it was really weird that Pastor Ernie had come up to him to tell him that, because he knew my dad was elderly and disabled, because we met him even before my son passed away in January of 2012. He knew my dad. He knew that he was elderly and disabled. So we were kind of confused as to why he did that. So my dad felt kind of bad, and he said, let's just get up and let's just go. So we got up and we left. Get over here. And as we were leaving, we told one of the ushers that, we told him what had happened, and he says, oh, Pastor Ernie's probably just saying that so he can get the attention of the other person that's there so they can move. And I said, well, he's a pastor, he can just come up and tell her, But I guess they took another route and decided to ask my dad, who's elderly disabled, to move. So kind of felt like we were blacklisted again, and we left. And my dad said, he didn't want to go back to the church. He felt like he was being punished for something. It didn't feel the same anymore after that. So a week or so after that, I talked to Pastor Roberts. I called him up, left a message for him at the mission, and he called me back within a couple hours. I talked to him on a Wednesday afternoon, and I told him my situation. And, sit up, Mama. And he says, okay, Lisa. Well, I told him about Pastor Ernie, what had happened, and I told him about the situation, and he says, okay, Lisa, I'm going to have Connie call you back, okay? And I said, oh, okay. So I waited. Nobody called. I didn't let my daughter play with my phone like she usually does. I waited and I waited a few days. Nobody called. The next week I called the mission in the main church, left messages.